Hi everyone, it's Raina. So this video is the full moon in Sagittarius, and pardon me for my voice, I guess it's kind of hoarse, but I did want to get this out because it's coming up on May 29th. And in my time zone, which is the central time zone in the United States, it's happening at 9:20 a.m. And so if you're in Europe, you would probably tack on about 6 hours, and Australia probably about, I don't know, I think it's 16 hours ahead of me. And so I believe it will all be on that date of the 29th. Now, 29 is an interesting number because if you reduce it, it reduces to 11, which is a master number. So when you look at certain days of the month, the 11th and the 29th are all are master numbers, but so is 22. That's a master number too. And of course, I'm sure some of you have been seeing repetitions with some of these numbers like 11:11 and 22. 222 or 11:11 or 1:11. And so anyway, in addition to that, it didn't escape my knowledge, or at least this is for my time zone, that the time when it is exact, when this full moon is exact, is 9:20 a.m. So that adds up to an 11 as well. Of course, if you live on the East Coast, there goes that theory, right? But one more thing that I think is interesting is that the degree of this full moon in Sag is 8 degrees. 8 is a number of power. And if you think of the Magician card in the Tarot, it has that infinity symbol that if you like kind of flip the card to one side, it would be an 8. And the number 8 card in most tarot decks is the Strength card. And that is also kind of connecting to the concept of 8 being about power. It's also the number of material wealth. Okay, so what we're dealing with is Sagittarius, and Sagittarius is ruled by Jupiter. And Jupiter can deal with wealth or prosperity as well as luck. So when we talk about full moons, we're talking about the culmination of something, and people will say the culmination of whatever seed you planted at the new moon time, the new moon being the time of Taurus in mid-May. But maybe you didn't consciously intend for anything to happen, so you can just look for developments with themes related to the 9th house that Sagittarius rules, as well as the 3rd house that Gemini rules. Because remember, at the time of a full moon, the sun is opposing that moon. So the sun will be in the opposite sign at the same degree. So at this time, the sun is at 8 degrees of Gemini. And the sun is in that air sign that represents the intellect. So it sometimes, I think, is characterized as Gemini being about knowledge and Sagittarius being about wisdom. And I think the human mind likes to judge things and to qualify them, to put one ahead of the other. And in this case, some people may naturally jump to the conclusion that I am suggesting that wisdom is more important than knowledge. And my definition of knowledge is the information we need to navigate this earth plane. And wisdom is the if you want to call it, it's information to be able to transcend this plane. And both are necessary. We do have bodies in the material world. So we can't deny that and kind of demean that fact because we have them for a reason. They're temporary. We shouldn't be attached to our bodies and think that they're going to be here forever. But by the same notion, we have to accept the fact that we're here and not try to just focus on one aspect to the exclusion of the other. So it's always, whenever we're talking about spiritual versus practical matters, there's always like one camp that wants to deny the other. The atheists want to deny that we have souls. The spiritual folks want to deny that we have bodies. And so it's funny because I'm hearing birds chirping at dusk. And that reminds me of this world. But then birds are soaring in the sky, and it's almost like they are free to visit different realms. They fly so high. So all of this action will differ depending on what sign you're in. And in general, I would say that with the full moon in Sagittarius and the fact that full moons can bring truth out into the open, that there may be some secrets revealed. Because Sagittarius is all about truth. And Sagittarians love to get to the bottom of things. And, it's funny because actually Scorpios are more interested in that. Sagittarians are more about being full of integrity and above board and wanting to be connected to the truth. And I suppose in some ways you could say exposing lies, because Sagittarius is a sign of ethics. And so we may have some interesting days that surround this full moon. I mean, even before, you may start to feel that energy build. And so even on Monday, when in America we have Memorial Day, which is a holiday, national holiday, there may be things that are kind of bubbling up to the surface. And this could be even like on a national level. I feel it right now because there are things that are about to get exposed. So it could be very interesting this time around. And I did want to mention a couple of the aspects that are occurring at this time, because Mercury is going to be in Taurus at that 29th degree, that critical degree. And so the fact that Taurus is an earth sign and dealing with practical matters, it's going to be very basic, like things are not going to be convoluted. But there could be like very, clear communication without mincing of words, to say the least. Venus is in Cancer, and that's a very protective placement for Venus. But here's the kicker. We have Mars in Aquarius, and that is quite rebellious. As a matter of fact, Mars is going to be forming a square to Uranus, the ruler of Aquarius, on this date. And we already know that full moons tend to be a little bit off kilter for some people. If you've ever been aware of other people's behavior and you've been in a public place and you see, wow, there's a lot of unusual activity going on, and then you remember that it's around a full moon, then you're like, yeah, that's what is happening. I've had that happen many times, and it's only after the fact that I think about that. And so with Mars square Uranus, there's this yearning for breaking free and also not being a conformist. But because it's a hard angle, it's like feeling pent up and feeling like you have to do something no matter what. And the reason that is not necessarily wise is because whenever Mars is squaring another planet and the energy is kind of frustrated like that when it's in a square, it's like the person can be very impulsive because they just want to act. And it's like they're not even caring what the results are. Their main concern is taking action. And in this case, it's for the purpose of experiencing freedom or individuality, but it's like if this is let's say it was like a protest or something like that, it could easily spiral out of control. So it's one of those things. I don't know if there aren't any demonstrations scheduled for that time frame, but that would be kind of like a red flag or a dangerous situation that you might be getting involved with if that were the case. But anyway, I wanted to just say before I left what this moon is called. It's actually called the full flower moon. I got this from the Farmer's Almanac. And of course, this is going to be for North America because this is the time of year when, according to this website, flowers are abundant everywhere. And they say that some other names for this same full moon occurring in May are the full corn planting moon or the milk moon. Now, I have to say, too, that there may be times when the full moon could fall in June. I'm sure that that's possible. So it's not always going to be in May necessarily. And so this is a time of the spring really getting in full force. But of course, this year for a lot of people, it's been delayed. So these flowers that they're talking about, they're still kind of underway in probably many parts, especially in the northern part of the United States. So it's still a beautiful time of year, that's for sure. And of course, down under, the people are experiencing their autumn. And I'm sure that is quite lovely too. Maybe that's why they say in most areas flowers are abundant, because even you can have fall flowers too, obviously. But I just want to leave everyone with this thought of the intellect versus the intuitive or prophetic, whatever you want to characterize Sagittarius as being. Because it seems nowadays there's a real push to kind of elevate science, and it's become this thing that's like a religion. And I see a lot of times that they are using science to indicate reason and kind of implying that people that believe in God are irrational or maybe, I don't know, kind of immature, wishful thinking, believing in some sky daddy, something like that. And not realizing that we can integrate these things. Whenever there's a full moon, there's like this these opposing forces, and they need to be integrated. It's not that you're going to pick a side and stay there. It's really about understanding the need for both. And with the 3rd and the 9th houses and Gemini and Sagittarius, it's the same thing. We need to be able to use our brains and, in order to be on our spiritual path, but never allow ourselves to lose reason when we are investigating and involving ourselves in immersing in wisdom. Don't ever let go of your questions, and just always be a seeker of the truth. And some people shut off that side because they want to have the experience of believing in something and not having any doubt in their minds. And that's why they refuse to look deeply at something that they have, like a group that they've joined that's spiritual or something like that. And that's the other side of the coin. If you're not willing to always keep an open mind about what's some belief system, and still have that healthy skepticism that causes you to really investigate it. And if you're just going to just believe everything somebody tells you, that's not, in my opinion, very wise either. But of course, you get these people that are total skeptics, and they just feel so puffed up by their intellect that they don't realize that's only one dimension. And being well-rounded means that you have a healthy mind, but you also have an active soul, that you're looking for something bigger than yourself, and that you keep an open mind to all possibilities. Sometimes they say, "Where's the proof? Where's the proof?" And that's the kind of trap that you can get caught in, where it's all about the 3D reality, instead of thinking that there's possibly more. At least having that open mind for possibilities. So that's what I've been thinking about with this full moon in Sagittarius. And thanks for watching. Bye.